digital website design meeting, I say meeting because I can see meeting on the screen, a company based in Malvern. So we've been asked to do a webinar for you on digital marketing. So I will just go ahead and jump straight in. As Yasmin said, we have done notes for you, so you don't have to worry about scribbling all the way through. So you should have that to refer to after. So I will just go ahead and start sharing my screen with you all. Hope I can click the right buttons. There we go. Can everybody see that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so the good, the bad and the ugly. So we're going to basically, we intend to today provide you with real world knowledge that you can go and take away to implement into your business. So we started as a small business, we learned as we went, and we're hoping that by sharing some of our mistakes and our triumphs, we can help you to avoid the pitfalls and go ahead and do some successful stuff rather than waste your time with the mistakes that we made. So it's all about for us basically giving you enough information that you can go away and make an informed decision about what is going to work for your business and your digital marketing strategies. This is just a suggestion, you don't have to do it, but we did think it might be helpful to, on a piece of paper, if you could draw 3 columns, one titled the good, one titled the bad, and one titled the ugly. And as we go through, if things occur to you about your business or you have ideas, you can jot them down in the columns. So if there's something really great that you do, pop it in the good column, you know you've got to keep it. If there's something that you're doing that you think you could improve on, pop it in your bad column. And if there's something that you need to stop doing, pop it in your ugly column. And then hopefully by the end, that can formulate the starts for you of how you might go away and take that to implement it real world into your business. Don't have to, just a suggestion. So today, the basic topics that we're going to cover, we're going to start with brand identity. I'm going to move forwards to your high quality website. We're then going to have a look at your keyword strategy and the importance of SEO. Then move on to what you can achieve organically. And then have a look at what you can do with your paid options to top up. So the important thing for me is to start off by saying that it's all about building a strong foundation. You can then top up with paid stuff as you go, but you could end up spending a lot of money on monthly paid ads or campaigns where you could be reaching those customers organically with what you already have. So we're going to take you through that process. So to this day, Designing the Shires has never done any paid marketing. We've done everything that we've done through our organic reach. So hoping to enable you guys to do a similar thing. First off, branding. So you might say to me, what's that got to do with my digital marketing? And my response would be absolutely everything. Your brand is not just your logo. It's not just how you look on a piece of paper. It's your identity. It's about how your consumers and your customers engage with you. It's not just about you shouting to them how you want to appear. It's about knowing what your customers want and building your brand around that. If your brand does not resonate with your customers, it won't be effective. No matter how visually pleasing it is, no matter how much money you've spent on it, if it doesn't talk to the people that you're wanting it to talk to, there's no point in having it. It's not doing its job. So a brand identity effectively is a way to communicate with the world. It's a way to differentiate yourself from your competition and create a brand experience that encourages your customers to actually engage with you. Digital marketing strategy is all about reaching and engaging the customers that you want to, which is why branding is so important. It's the cornerstone of how you talk to people. Your brand is how you're recognizable to your customers. It's how they know who you are and what you do. So I am a firm believer that the consumer is changing. So previously, people felt really safe with brands that were familiar to them. So brands had trends of similarities that you felt familiar and safe with, but people don't want a sterile, faceless, boring corporation anymore. People like people, not corporations. So They want to know about you. They want to know what are your values. They want to know what they can expect from you. They want to know who you are and why you're different from your competitors. Now, being different from your competitors does not mean you necessarily sell a different product. You could sell the same product, but it might be how you deliver it that sets you apart, or it might be your customer service, or it might be your aftercare. So if you're offering those things additionally to your competitors, shout about it, put it in your brand. They're going to choose you over the competitor that doesn't offer all those additional things. So make sure people know what makes you different. So before you do anything with your brand, you need to sit down and ask yourself some serious questions. You know, there's three things you can categorize it into. The first is your brand heart. So that is your purpose. Why are you doing what you're doing? Your vision. What are you trying to achieve? Your mission. How will you get there? And your values. What do you stand for? And then you move to your brand messaging. So that would be your brand voice, how you sound, both written and in person, your personality, you know, coming across in things like your taglines, you know, all of those things. So people know who you are and what you're like. And then you're finally into what people tend to think of branding, which is actually your logo, your visuals, your brand guidelines, and your colors. So that is actually your last step in your brand identity, because your logo and your colors need to support what your brand message and your brand heart is. So ask yourself, what do you do and why do you do it? What makes you different? What are your values? And the answers to those questions will then go on to inform all your branding decisions and your digital marketing decisions. So it's really important. So first thing, I wanted to show you an example of what I mean. So we have got Innocent Smoothies. So chances are most of you have heard of them. So these are screenshots from their website. So you've got, you will become unexpectedly interested in crushed fruit and companies that give 10% of profits to charity. It's light-hearted. It's how you talk to your friends in the pub. It's very much friendly and humorous. The second one, light bulb moment, you know, they've got get in touch as a button underneath there. Instead of your sterile contact us or make an inquiry, make it fun, inject a bit of personality into it. There's no need to be rigid and sterile. So with Innocent in particular, chances are you'll presume that they're a moral company. Chances are that you're going to tell me that you would trust that they would make good decisions on behalf of their consumers. But if you think about it, what do you really know about them? Do you know anything about the people that run the company? Do you know anything about how they run their business? Probably not. But you presume they're going to make better choices than their competitors. You presume their drinks are healthy, that they're not full of nasties, that they don't cut corners in their production process. You presume their value for money and that they're a safe pair of hands. And all of that is down to their branding and their tone of voice. That's the only impression they've ever given you. And that's what you're going away and thinking of. So you can see it again. These are just another couple of examples. So that top one there. Our resident nutritionist, Louisa, wants you to know that our tasty new smoothies are all sources of vitamin C and fibre. Louisa didn't actually call them tasty. Louisa doesn't care about taste, just nutrition. You know, it's light-hearted, it's funny. And the other thing about that, if you look at the comment underneath, now that's funny. Nutritionists rarely care about taste, only nutrition. They've sparked engagement from their audience by having a bit of a joke. You know, rather than saying, oh, look at our lovely drink, they're these flavors. You know, no one's going to really interact with that, but they've been funny. And similarly, the one underneath, I really like this. Things that are natural, trees, cliffs, sheep, the fruit in our smoothies, nose hair, that noise you make when you step on a plug, our daily fear of posting something that gets us fired, and geese. You know, it's just silly. It's light-hearted. It's entertaining. People look at social to be entertained. So make sure you are not just selling. Another example here, we've got Red Bull. So what do you think of when I say Red Bull? because when I asked my friends and family this, most of them said extreme sport, not an energy drink. And that is all down to their branding. They give you feelings of adrenaline, of pushing the boundaries, of adventure. They don't actually advertise their drink. They advertise a feeling. Even their tagline, you know, Red Bull gives you wings, is all about that human wish to fly and push the boundaries. So your tone of voice and your brand doesn't have to focus on sell your products. You can find yourself a niche in the market by using a clever tone of voice. So here's a few more. So I focus on Gymshark, you know, fairly new gym company. So these posts focus on inclusivity. So brands are often now helping to lead the way in issues that are very topical for us at the moment. So race, gender, equality. You can be a voice for your consumer. You know, brands have a lot of power. They have a lot of noise in the world. And actually a brand that stands up for what their consumers believe in helps to challenge norms and push for better. So it's important to know what your consumers want and to be a voice for them if you can. So just to talk a little bit about the bad and the ugly of branding. So I put a few things here. So obviously there's a myriad of things that we could talk about, but the basics are, you know, the bad, using stock imagery or any free imagery. You know, it's not personal. People often recognize it as being stock images. They may have seen it somewhere else. If you have your own beautiful imagery, not only is it personal to you and reflects you, but your competitors can't copy it as easily as well. So use imagery that is specific to your business to come across as professional and premium. The other thing is being boring. So don't be sterile, don't be like everybody else. People remember what emotionally influences them. So don't be forgettable, be memorable and be different. So the ugly, not representing your true values. It's all well and good putting on your website that you're excellent at customer service. But if you know that's an area of your business that you're trying to improve, saying you're excellent is effectively lying to your customer. And if they then have an experience with you where you're not excellent, they're not going to trust you and they're quickly going to find out. So be true to who you are. Don't lie or try and appear better, or, you know, just be as you are and grow and talk about that growth. The other thing is cheap or poor quality or DIY design. Now, you might all say you're just saying that because you're a design company, but honestly, that is not the case. Customers know what quality to expect from a brand. They've seen thousands, if not millions of them in their life. So if you try to do it yourself and it doesn't quite hit the mark, unless you've got the necessary skills to do it, which some do, but most don't, you risk your customers noticing that you're not investing and you're trying to do it cheap, and that's never going to come off well. So we had to give you an example, we had a client, I won't name names, who paid for a beautiful set of branding with us, wanted some social media banners, decided to cut up the work that we'd done and make their own social media banner. It was different fonts, it was different, you know, everything was different, and it looked cheap. And we probably would have done that for them for free if they'd have asked. So we went on and saw all our beautiful branding all chopped up, and it wasn't consistent. There was no brand consistency across platforms, which again, the consumer will notice that. So get your branding sorted first. And once you've got your branding sorted, you then need to move on to your website. So our website did everything for us. Speaking from personal experience, when we started our business, we built a website, we worked really hard on it. We have done no other marketing since. Every single inquiry we have had has been generated through our own website. It would have cost us, if we had built it, if we had paid us to do it, it would have cost us about £3,500 to do our website. But all we had to secure was one corporate client as a result of that, and we've already seen a return on our investment. You could spend a fortune on paid ads. But if they are going to a website which is low quality, your customer is just going to bounce straight back. So your investment, they're just going to bounce back to Google and go to the next listing because you took too long to load or you didn't look premium. It's your shop front. So you have to make sure that it is enticing for your customers. So the digital marketing strategy as a whole is all about directing consumers to a place where they can engage and interact with you. And the main place for that to be is going to be your website. So we put forward 4 different elements to the success of a website. So the design and style, it needs to look good. It needs to be visually pleasing, enticing. The content, so your tone of voice, is it engaging? Is it informative? Does it reflect you honestly? Does it answer your customers' questions? Your user experience, is it easy to use? Is it intuitive? Does it load quickly? Do they get stuck in a loop where they can't get back to the homepage? And all those things that frustrate us as a user. Make sure your website's not doing that to your consumers. And the huge one that everybody wants to know about is obviously SEO. SEO is knitted into every single element of your website, every single element of your digital marketing strategy. It is impossible to talk about it on its own without mentioning those other things. It's down to the clean code, the content, whether it's responsive or not. Have you got a keyword strategy in place? All of those things. So we'll talk a lot more about SEO. So just to go into those a little further. So you've got SEO, just mentioned, call to action, visuals, and your content. So this is a demonstration of a page just to highlight those 4 elements. So make sure your website is built around your client. It shouldn't serve your needs. It should serve your client's needs. It's your online shop. So make it beautiful, make it easy to use on all devices, striking imagery and intuitive layout. Well-designed websites will look like a mobile app if you look at them on a smartphone. So you can design them to be really intuitive across all devices because the usage of mobile devices is always on the rise. So to talk about the content a little bit, so it's absolutely crucial to the success of any website. It's a huge specialist skill in itself. You can write beautifully about your website and your services, but what is unlikely that you will know is how Google's going to interact with that. How is Google going to read that text? How is Google going to know that they want to show you for that search result? You need to integrate your keyword strategy throughout your content, and a content specialist will do that without you noticing they've done it. If somebody who's not trained to do that tries to do it, the likelihood is what will happen is it will look like your keyword stuffing, which is when you say, for example, I want to come up for website design Malvern, and I just put Malvern in every second sentence. It doesn't read nicely. Google will know you're trying to do it, and you'll be punished as a result. So that's one easy example of a mistake that people often make. So SEO is probably a multi-billion pound industry globally, I would think. It is huge. It's a specialist skill. It's almost like, well, it is science, effectively. It's algorithms and how particular actions are going to influence those. If you've got no knowledge, my only advice is really stick to the basics. Don't try and do anything that's too complicated, because the likelihood it'll have a knock-on effect to something else, and you might end up affecting things that you didn't intend to. There's no point in having a beautiful website if nobody can find it. You have to make sure that you're hitting your SEO strategies. If it looks cheap, if it takes an age to load, if it's got broken links in it, if it's got out-of-date plugins, all of those things are going to get people going straight off your website and straight onto your competitor. So making sure you've maximized all of those things is really, really important. calls to action, in case anyone doesn't know what those are. So they are almost like prompts, instructions to your clients. Click here to do something. So that could be download a brochure, get in touch, read our blog, sign up to our newsletter, anything that is turning a user from being passive into active on your website and engaging and interacting with your site is a call to action. So it's an instruction to do something, and they're really important on a site. It's how you get people moving through your pages, highlighting things you want to highlight, and engaging with you effectively. I could talk for an hour about how important your website is. I won't, because it's a small part of this presentation, but I can't stress enough how important it is that is really, really high quality. It's the cornerstone for everything you're going to do from this point onwards. So how do we keep Google happy? How do we make sure that we're ticking all those boxes and we're giving Google no excuse to punish us? First thing I would say, play by the rules. Don't try and trick the algorithm. Don't keyword stuff. Don't try little tricks that you've read online, because they will know you're doing it and they will punish you. Google likes you to fit into their systems. So if you try and twist their systems, they don't really like you very much. So one of the surefire ways of doing that is to ensure you've got clean code. So the better your coding is, the easier you are for Google's bots to read, the easier you are for Google's bots to index and put into their nice little categories, which we'll come on to later when we look at targeting paid ads. If Google likes you, you're pretty sorted with your base of how you're going to show up high on those SERPs, search engine result pages. Nice little acronym for you all there. So the other thing to mention is, this might sound like waffle, but meta descriptions and meta tags. So if anybody doesn't know what those are, when you do a Google search, the top title would be your meta tag, and the little descriptive bit of text underneath would be your meta description. So it's how, as a user, we can see which page we're clicking on and what we're likely to see when we go onto that page. So make sure they're short, they're succinct, they're really clear, and that you've got some of your keywords in those meta tags and descriptions. Make sure you optimize all your images and your videos, and try and have as few plugins as you can. They all cause websites to slow load slowly, and loading slowly is one of the biggest causes of people bouncing from your site. We've all done it. You go click on a website and you think, well, it's taking more than 3 seconds to load. Nah, back off, find someone who's quicker. So making sure you've optimized your website. We're all really impatient on the online world. We want it straight away. So if you can avoid falling into that slow load, you're onto a winner straight away. So install Google Analytics and install Google Tag Manager. Google likes it if you use their systems. They'll also be important later on when we come to looking at making sure everything's driven by the data that you've got. Set up a Google My Business page and actually post on it. You can post pictures, you can interact with Google. Google will then see you as being an active participant and is then more likely to index you more quickly and get you on the search pages. Set up your social media business pages and make sure the details match your details on your social media page to your Google My Business page. So Google knows you're all one in the same business. So your social media pages aren't competing with your Google business page. Sign up and register with as many online directories as you can. So those are things like Yao. You've also got industry specific ones. There are also ones that you can pay for. Obviously, those are entirely optional. They will give you backlinks, which will in turn do really well for your domain authority. And your domain authority is one of the things that Google uses to calculate where it's going to show you on that search page. So the more high quality backlinks you have, the better. So Chambers, if you're a member of the Chambers is a great backlink because they've got great domain authority and they will likely have your website address on the page, on your member page. So make sure you've got that. That's a really quick win for a Chambers member. Make sure you've got that on there. Right, so that is keeping Google happy. So now we are going to move into the meaty stuff. So your options. So how do you communicate your values and your brand and your products to your customers? What's the most effective way? And what is the most cost-effective way to achieve your goals that you might have? So is it that you want to reach a particular target market, age, gender, interests? Do you want to increase your Google rankings, so get higher up that search page? Are you trying to get community engagement in a project, or are you trying to gather customer information and signups? And what your goal or aim is going to make a big difference as to what path you take through the various digital marketing strategy options. So there are loads of options, and what works best for one isn't going to work best for another. It's all about building your strong foundation first, your keyword strategy built into your website, built into your content, and then you can top up and complement with the paid options. So if there's a gap in your keyword strategy that you can't fill, use a paid ad to fill that. So they should complement each other. You should never do one without the other. So just thinking, oh, I don't want to bother with all that website stuff. I'm just going to stick, £1,000 on a budget for Google Ads, is not going to get you the same result as if you did both. You'd be better splitting that budget and spending half on your website and half on your paid ads. So we've got owned, we have got paid, and we have got shared. So owned is the stuff, your assets, so your website, your own social media. Paid is things that you can pay for, so pay-per-clicks, social media advertising, and shared is getting engagement from a third party for free. So the approach that you take and the changes you make to your strategy should all be driven by the data that you are collecting through Google Analytics. So if you can see that you're not getting a particular demographic that you want visiting your website, you can set up a campaign to try and target that demographic. You can then test how well that worked. You can tweak the campaign and test how well the tweak worked. So everything should be supported and driven by your analytics. Otherwise, you don't know what you're doing, what success you're having, what it is that's working and what's not. Google Analytics is a whole nother kettle of fish. There's an awful lot of advice out there, and it's incredibly complicated, but very, very valuable as well. So you need to put in place some metrics and some KPIs so that you can tailor your approach. So have something measurable. So the number of hits you're getting, the number of downloads you're getting, something that you can measure success against so you know whether it's working or not. Make sure you maximize your return on investment, that lovely phrase. So to give you an example of what you might be able to track, this is quite a nice one. So you can categorize your customers. So you could categorize them between, did they come from Facebook? Did they come from Google? Did they come from a paid ad or from an organic search? And that then allows you to see if they behave differently on your website. So do Facebook customers, are they more likely to go to your values page? Whereas Google customers, Google search people might be more likely to head straight to the products you serve. And then, you can tailor the ads you're putting on Facebook to be slightly more values-based, and you can tailor it accordingly. So in terms of the owned option, make sure you've maximized everything. You've got your keyword strategy in place, and then make sure you update your website. Every time you update your website, the Google bots notice a change and they re-index you. So it's like giving Google a little prompt. I'm still here, I've updated. Then you're more likely to rise up those results pages. Continue with your keyword strategy. You can test that with online tools. There's some free ones that will tell you what your highest performing keywords. If they're not what you want them to be, change your copy. See if you can get them to alter around. Bring one higher up, bring one lower down. And make sure you're doing everything you can to keep Google happy, as we talked about before in that previous slide. So I've given you a couple of examples here of owned social media. So these are not paid posts. So we've picked 3 drinks companies. There's many we could have picked, but we've gone for 3 drinks companies. So we picked Coca-Cola here. Now it's light-hearted, there's humor in there. There's not much about their actual products. It's all about playing an active part in world issues, reflecting the voices of their consumers, like we talked about before. If you feel a brand is using your language, you're more likely to stick with them. If they fit how you feel about the world, you're more likely to buy from them and continue buying from them. Coca-Cola have twigged that if they appear as an ethical business rather than a money-making machine, they connect better with their customers. So it's just sharing the values. So let's have a look then at the next one. Now this is Lucozade. Now these posts are very sell. There's no really engaging content in there. What can you really start a discussion about a different flavour of Lucozade? You know, it's fairly boring. People don't like just to be sold to. People want to be entertained. So those posts are just a bit boring, really. And then we're into the ugly. So I don't know how many of you will remember this, but Kendall Jenner did an advert with Pepsi in 2017, and it went horribly wrong. At the time, there was a lot of racial tension in the US. There had been a lot of police killings of ethnic minorities or Black citizens. And it really was a difficult time. And Pepsi thought they would try, I think they meant to do good, but it just went wrong. They basically showed Kendall Jenner going over to a police officer and handing him a can of Pepsi. And they had to pull it shortly after its release because it just looked like they were trivializing a huge issue. You know, all it takes is Kendall Jenner to hand a can over and it's all fixed. And there was a lot of anger. They had a huge amount of negative press, both traditional press and online press. They pulled it. It was humiliating for them. So although it's good to engage in topical issues, just be aware not to present yourself as fixing them, because it will anger people. It looks like you're trivializing it. Be part of the conversation, not the one who's trying to fix it. So the next thing you can do from your own stuff is maximize your email campaigns. So a lot of companies use these. Some people, unfortunately, they can get a bit boring. So this is a really good example from a company called Lick. Now, it's funny immediately, the picture of her peeping up over the piece of paper. They've put added value in there. So, and they've got call to actions in there. So it's almost like a little web page within an email. So it should be visually pleasing, engaging. You should make sure to include a call to action. So whether that's just, you know, sign up or download, you know, all those things we previously talked about. Keep it text light. It should be easy to absorb. You know, when you go on an email and you think, oh, it's going to take me half an hour to read that, and you just flick off it, and then next time you look, it's right down you, and you never go back to it. So keep it looking like it's quick to absorb. Make sure to include your personality and make it fun, and include added value to show off your skills. So, you know, top tips, links to blogs, all of those more meaty bits. Don't put them in there, but have a call to action relating to them. So very simply, you can really sleek your email game and stand out from your competitors, because a lot of people just stick to the kind of quite boring side. So I'm going to pop back to this one and now have a think about your paid options. So you have got your pay-per-click, so Google pay-per-click. Other search engines are available. Social media advertising, so paid social posts. You've got ambassadors or paid influencers, which can work well for companies who have a product that they wish to sell or show off, and sponsorship and affiliates. So I'm just gonna have a little run through your paid options. So we'll start with pay-per-click. So you can target your customers based on a number of different things. So you can look at their search behavior. What are they searching for? What are they putting into Google to find you? You can target them based on the content they're viewing. What websites are they looking at? What are their current activities on the web? You can look at behavior they've exhibited online. So Google categorizes people based on their interests. So are you always on health and beauty websites, or are you always on gardening websites? And you can also target people based on their demographics and life events. Now for Google, this is information it infers from your search behavior, which, scary as it is true. So Google knows a lot about us. So it will be able to work out if you're recently engaged and you're looking at wedding venues, or, just an example. So there's a lot you can target people based on the demographics and life events, and it can be extremely useful for businesses to really hone their digital marketing strategies down to target the people they really want to. So with pay-per-click, there's 3 kind of main ways you can do it. So you've got search targeting, display targeting, and retargeting or remarketing. So search targeting is reaching people based on what they're searching for. So what are they Googling? And the most common way of doing that is through bidding on keywords. So you would select, for us, we would think, website design Malvern, and that would form our keyword bidding strategy. Your bid enters a Google auction, and the auction is, if we knew exactly what Google was doing in the auction, we'd be able to tell you how to come top every time. So obviously that's information that they keep quite close. So they use a number of different factors to work out where they are going to place you on that first section of paid ads that you get when you do a Google search. So you can bid for that, compete with your competitors locally, nationally, globally, however you want to. You can filter it down and basically try and make sure you appear as the first paid results. A slightly newer thing they offer is dynamic search ads. So these can fill in the gaps from your bidding. So this is quite clever. So it looks at the content you've already got on your website, and it looks at what the user is Googling, and it sees how well you match. So this is why making sure you have a really strong keyword strategy in your website is important, because a lot of the technology now is moving to match people up based on what's on your site, not what you're paying to come up for. It's a more accurate way of them matching people. So that's why it's really crucial to get that keyword strategy organically in your website first. So if we now move on to talking about display targeting. So these are those ever so lovely banner ads that pop up right in the way of what you're trying to read when you're on a website. Chances are most of us find them really intrusive, but retargeted display ads are 70% more likely to convert you than other types of digital ads. So if I've been on a website, say I've been on, shoe website, I've been looking at a pair of shoes. I don't buy them, I bounce off that website. That website might then retarget me and pop up a banner ad when I'm on a different website. It keeps it in the back of your mind. It keeps exposing you to it, pushing you to it. And we all know eventually we normally give in. It's just the way of it, isn't it? I'm victim to it myself, and I know how it works. So although they're irritating, they are very effective. So within your display targeting, you have 2 main categories. So you can do contextual targeting, which is based upon showing sites that have content. So you would show up, your banner ads would show up on websites that have similar or relevant content to you. And then you also have audience targeting, which is showing up your banner ads on a particular type of audience. So it's not necessarily about they match you, it's about what that audience, what that user is like, what they're behaving like. So with contextual targeting, you can do placement marketing. So you can say to Google, I want to show on these websites, and give them a list. Or you can do keyword targeting and give Google a list of keywords, and they will then match you to content that they think loosely matches. Or you can choose from topics. So you could choose to display your ads on websites, health and beauty websites, gardening websites. You know, they'll categorize the website and you can choose on that basis. So audience targeting. So it's in market audiences. So these are groups of users Google believes are actively researching or in the market. So if we take about that wedding venue example, if somebody is going on a lot of wedding venues, if I'm a wedding venue, I can get Google to in-market me on those wedding sites. You can also do it based on life events, like we talked about, birth or marriage, or based on the information Google infers from you about your age, even where you live, whether or not you're married. It knows everything. It's really quite scary. So these are huge. I've really had to talk about these briefly because they're huge topics. So retargeting and remarketing basically allows you to put yourself back in front of people who have shown an interest of you. This can be done by snippets of code. So your website would track that this person bounced off your site, and it would then pick that user as someone to push your ads to, which is extremely effective, but also quite complicated. So generally remarketing tends to be done by those people who have a digital marketing qualification or experience. So that's all of your Google ad stuff. It is complex. I'm not going to lie. Google ads have a really lovely interface, and you can do some really simple ones. But my advice would be, if you're wanting to do something complicated or something a little more specific, then to take advice before you do so, because you could end up wasting an awful lot of money on something which isn't very effective. So you're going to have a look at social media paid ads now. So advertising on social media is a hyper direct way to reach the audience you want. You can target new customers, you can target returning customers, you can do A/B testing by doing two slightly different versions of an ad and putting it out to two slightly different groups of people and seeing how the behavior differs. And you can then really hone those campaigns and get them perfect. So you might do, say, the same ad with a different header and see if you got more clicks through from the one that had the header worded in A way rather than B way. So you can really test and perfect your campaigns over time. So that's a really valuable thing to do. But how do you know which platform to use? How do you know where most of your customers are sitting? Are they on Facebook? Are they on Twitter? How do you know that? Where should you focus your energy? Do you need to do different content for each site, for each platform, or can you use the same post across multiple platforms? So we have got Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. So those are the four big ones. There's obviously new and emerging socials that are coming out at the moment, but these are the four with the biggest number of users worldwide. So you can see Facebook still remains the most used and engaged with platform. I mean, it's huge. 2.7 billion people around the world use Facebook. It's really good for reaching an older demographic. Arguably, you have a higher level of disposable income. So younger users tend to now go more towards TikTok and those kinds of things. Heavy millennial and boomer populations on Facebook. Due to its size, it makes sense to have some sort of active presence as a business on Facebook, even if it's not your preferred option. Most people will visit a website and then visit their Facebook page. So you do need to have some Facebook presence, I would say. So Instagram, second largest after Facebook, also owned now by Facebook. So they offer an opportunity because you can do cross-promotional ads across both platforms. So you can actually link your ad campaigns. So there's some recent research that has really highlighted the value of influencers and Instagram content for influencing shopping. So Instagram is a really valuable way. It's very visual, isn't it? Instagram, more so than the other platforms. So you can really use it to show off and showcase products, I suppose. They've also recently introduced Reels, which you can't advertise on yet, but it will be coming, which is a direct response to the success of TikTok. So they're obviously worried because they're doing something. So Twitter users is surprisingly small in comparison, because we kind of think Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, but Twitter really is quite small. It's only 187 million in comparison to 2.7 billion for Facebook. Their users and interaction tends to stay steady. It's a great place to gather news or conduct customer service. Great for discussing events, but not so great for advertising. They're really quite limited on their advertising potential. But 42% of Twitter users are degree holders. So it is potentially a good platform for higher earners. So there's that as well. So LinkedIn, if we have a think about that, millennials make up a quarter of the platform on LinkedIn, which is a surprisingly high figure. And they tend to be higher educated, and it's more of a business to business demographic. So there's a lot of potential for ad success on LinkedIn. It's top rated for lead generation. So if you're looking to generate leads in a business to business fashion, LinkedIn is your place. And yeah, you can find a motivated audience for your ads, that people are on there generally to conduct business. So it's a good place to focus some ad budget on. So consider with your social, what time are you posting? Don't post at 10 o'clock on Friday, because chances are no one's going to look at it. Make sure you engage organically with other people's posts. So comment on other people's posts, share other people's posts. You're going to appear more visible. You're going to reach more people. You're going to reach that person's followers who you wouldn't have done if you hadn't commented. The more varied and interesting your social feed is, the less likely people are to snooze you or to unfollow you. So make sure you're posting a variety of content. As I said before, people like people. So don't just sell. People don't want to just see your products. They want to see you, not necessarily your face, but they want to know your personality. Character, values, humor. That's my 3 kind of hit words for social media. That's what's going to get you the best engagement. So let's have a little think about the ads that you could do on those platforms. So they all support the same kind of campaign objectives. So it's all based on awareness, building your brand reach, getting your brand in front of people. It's all about creating consideration. So sending people to your website, increasing engagement, generating leads. So getting people to consider how they would interact with you effectively, the consideration one means. And then, of course, conversions, which everybody wants, which is the bit where they actually spend their money with you. So they're all, so awareness, consideration, conversions, all platforms basically support that approach. So Facebook, Insta, and LinkedIn all offer 3 main types of advert, which we're all probably very familiar with seeing. So there's the single photo with a link to that product or service. There's a video with a link, and the video capabilities, you could do anything from a looping 10-second video through to a 240-minute feature-length film. So, there really is options for you to explore there. There's also some new and emerging technology that Facebook is bringing in to do with video advertising, which all looks very fancy whiz. And so there's your photo, your video, and then a carousel ad, which we're probably most used to seeing, where you've got clothing brands is the common one I see, where you've got a selection of their products, and each product has its individual link to that product page. So it's a way of showcasing a few of your products or a lot of your products in one advert, and people can then choose exactly which one they want to go and explore further. So Facebook and Instagram also offer collection adverts. Now this uses some of their new technology. So it's effectively like a little view into your catalog. So you'd see a main image and then you'd have 4 smaller images or videos underneath. They can click into that and it's almost like a mini shop within the app. So people don't like moving out of the apps necessarily. So if you're looking in Facebook, I've done it, looking in Facebook, you click a link, it opens into a new website, you go, oh no, I want to be on Facebook, go away. And you go back to Facebook and you forget that link you clicked. So carousel ads are a nice way of keeping people engaged in your business whilst also staying in the app. Twitter, as we said, not such good advertising potential really. So you can promote an existing organic tweet that you have sent, or you can create a new tweet and stick some money behind it and push it to try and get it in front of people. But the capabilities are really not as great as they are with Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, similar, of those 3 type of ads as well. The targeting is slightly different. So Facebook and Instagram offer a huge amount of targeting options. We give a lot of information to our social media accounts and they harvest that information to allow advertisers to use it to target them. So location, age, gender, your interests, your relationship status, the language you speak, your education, your job titles, your life events, even what politics you follow. You know, really, they can get everything. So you can, as a, in terms of marketing your own products, you can really specify the type of person you want to be in front of. LinkedIn, less expansive, more based on qualifications and job titles, effectively. It's a business to business platform, so that does fit with what they're offering. So we now move quickly on to go back to having a look at our shared options. So these are things like your ratings on Trustpilot, getting people organically to share your posts and interact with your posts, like we saw with the innocent smoothies, when people are commenting and saying, oh, that's funny. So also valuable content that positions you as an expert in your field. So that is, we'll come on to that in a minute, it's hugely, hugely important. Also referring a friend discount, so getting people to push your services to people they know. It's for a small discount, you're getting free advertising. So that's a really useful tack to take. So let's have a look at positioning yourself as an expert in the field. So these are a few of our posts that we've done from Starting the Shire. So you can see this top one is all about making sure, giving advice about how you might improve your search results. The second one was a pancake day post. So it's 4 slides about how you might improve your marketing. And then we'll have a little look at some others. So we've got that top one there is all about power words. So making sure that your emailers have got the right words in to get noticed, not to get deleted straight away. And that second one down there where is about increasing website traffic. So we do a lot of these posts, we do a lot of blogs. It's a really easy way to let your customers know that you know what you're doing, that you're better than your competitors. It instigates and initiates trust, because if you're sharing knowledge, people trust you. They think, oh, this person's being nice to me. They're sharing stuff. So it initiates that closeness that you want to feel with your customers. It also makes you look like you're so confident in your skills and expertise, you're giving away your trade secrets. So, you know, that not appropriate for every business, of course, but it lets them feel like they're in on the secret. They've gained some knowledge that perhaps other people haven't. It's engaging, it's interesting content. It's not sell, and it does stimulate interaction. So we often notice when we post something like this that we get a little influx of followers. So I really can't stress how much this could do. And it's free for you. It's you sharing what you know and what you're passionate about. It's free for you. So yeah, grows your followings and it will give you a reputation as an expert in the field. People will be like, oh, if you want to know about so-and-so, you need to talk to, because they've got all this information. So it really is a useful way of marketing yourself for free with what you already know. So we thought you might be interested to know from our perspective as a branding design marketing company, what we see people do that frustrates us. So no brand consistency, having different stuff on the web to what you've got on your social, to what you've got on your print, absolute no from us as a branding agency. It just looks cheap and not thought all the way through. So paying for something and butchering it, that goes back to what I was talking about before with our clients. If you've paid somebody to do some branding, unless you've really got the skills, don't chop it up and reuse it on something else, because it won't give you that brand consistency, as we just talked about. So people that get put off by the price. So we'll do a quote, somebody will go away, they'll try and do it themselves, and then they'll come back and go, we messed it up, please can you rescue us? And absolutely fine for us to do that, but it will cost you so much more. So really deciding to make that investment at the start and go for it and follow it through, knowing that you're going to see a return. If you go away and try and do it yourself, likelihood is it's not going to work and it's going to cost you more in the long run. So trial and error period, nothing works straight away. We have to test, we have to see what works. So you might have to put a bit more on kind of a little bit on everything. So it might cost you a little bit more to start off, but then we will hone it. It will get less expensive as you work out what works. So you need to test everything, make a large investment that's going to then lead to smaller subsequent investments from you. Cast your net wide initially and bring it smaller as you work out what works for you. SEO. Comment from us. Well, I'm not on page 1 yet. Well, it takes a while. It can take up to 6 months for an SEO strategy to really show its proper results. So we're not going to do a new website for somebody, put it up, and then the following day you'll be on page 1. It just doesn't work like that, unfortunately. And having a sell approach. People don't like being sold to generally. So be yourself. So those are the common things that we see. They're a bit frustrating for us. So we just thought it would be interesting for you. So we're now into any questions. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can have a little look back at the comments.
So,
right.
Jess, thank you very, very much. It was a really, really insightful presentation, and I hope everyone can take something away from that. And obviously we will be sharing the notes and presentation afterwards, so you can all refer back to that. We have just gone over time by a little bit, so if anyone does have any questions for Jess, I will share her details on the follow-up email, and then you can go directly to her if that's okay. Okay,
yeah, that's fine.
Fab. So thank you ever so much, Jess. Just one thing that I wanted to say before we end is that from a chamber perspective, we have got our quarterly economic survey out at the moment, and if we could just borrow 2 minutes of your time to do the survey, I will send a link round in the follow-up email, but that's just my little plea from today. But Jess, have you got anything else that you'd like to say before we wrap up?
The only other thing I'd like to say is we have set up a page on our website for you guys specifically. So if you go designingtheshires.co.uk/chambers, you'll find a little form on there where you can request some information or some help from us, and you'll also find a space where you can download the presentation, which we'll also send out in the email with Yasmin as well. But that's just set up for you guys. Nobody else has got access to that page, so you can request a free website review with us if that's something that you would like, and you can also book a free consultation to have a chat through if you've got any questions. But if you do have any questions that you want to send through on email, to me, that's absolutely fine as well. Thank you all for listening.
Perfect. Thank you, Jess. And thank you everyone for listening. I hope you've enjoyed today's presentation, which will be available from tomorrow. Some really nice comments for you there, Jess, that you can take away. But thanks all. Have a lovely afternoon and take care. Bye.
Thank you.